be on against them?
Yeah. Steph, can you shut the door, please?
All right, so now we're on about organisations. How are we going with organisation, boys and girls? There's a big no over there. That's honest, that's good. What do you do? Some of you guys are going to be geeks and you could be teaching me, and others have got no idea whatsoever. So, and some in between. So, who's organised? Who would say they're organised? Yeah, couple, yeah. Why are they all girls? No, not all girls, sorry. Yeah, there's a couple more. All right, so what do you do? What do you do?
I write lists.
Yeah, you write lists? That's good.
Lists person.
You're a list person. Physical paper lists or
Both.
sometimes electronic? Diary?
Diary, yeah.
That's really good. Lists are important. Anything else?
Calendar, the diary, but with tasks and schedules.
Yeah. That's good. That's what we're talking about today. Yeah, that's important.
That's just my wife.
You use your wife, and your wife writes lists? Yeah, sometimes? Yeah. That's right, the old PA.
Good because we're from the same classes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so being organised is important. So there's a good book called Getting Things Done. It's not a Christian book at all, but I have worked my way through it several years ago, and found there's some things in there which were really helpful to sort of get the heads up on being organised. So if you're going to achieve the things we were talking about before, essentially is how it segues into this, the things that are foundational, the things that are significant. If you're going to be achieving those things, you've got to be organised, because there's way too much stuff to try and just keep it in your head. So David Allen says this, he says, organisation is about the habit of keeping nothing on your mind. And the way to do that is not by managing your time or managing your information or managing your priorities. Instead, the key to managing all of your stuff is managing your actions. So it's about getting it out of your head. So we'll have a quick look at this stuff here. So second slide on this one. So he says there's 5 stages, David Allen, but I just like to keep it simple. I've made it 3. So this is essentially what I've tried to do, okay? And take it or leave it. You guys might be able to improve on some of this, but this is some things that you might like to be thinking about, particularly if you're not very well organised. So collect. We all collect. It's something we do automatically. And what sort of things? Everything. So we collect. We all get emails. Occasionally we get paper through the mail these days. There's voicemails, there's texts, there's so many different things. Facebook, there's Instagram. Boy, it's a little bit hard. I actually deliberately try not to get on too many social network devices. Particularly even with Facebook, I tend to say to people, if you're going to send me a Facebook message, it's not the best way, because I check Facebook probably 2 times a week. I mean, I'm not like most people. I deliberately say I've got enough to do without trying to chase everything down there as well. But I want to be on Facebook because we use Facebook for certain things in the church, communication, particularly around the worship team. We just find Facebook works well. But if people want to send me a message and they Facebook me, it's not the sort of thing I check very often, because I deliberately try not to use it like that. But you're all different, and everybody in this room is younger than me, I think, and for sure. And so you probably do it differently, but we all collect things, all right? There's always bits of information coming your way. The question is, what are you going to do with it? We all collect it, and the key is to organise your buckets, and these things are all buckets, okay? Email the buckets. Just you think about all the information coming in, it's like everything going into a bucket. You've got a whole lot of different buckets for different things coming in, but you've got to make sure that you do something with that, okay? So we all collect, and then the next thing is we need to process those things. So how do you process it? Any sort of feedback? What do you guys do to process? You write lists was one of the things that you said. If you get an email, and someone's asking you to do something, what do you do with that?
You put it in a folder.
You write a sticky note?
Yeah.
You just lots of sticky notes around the place?
Or write in my diary.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. What did you say? You just,
So you get an email.
yeah,
Yeah. If it's one I'm going to keep, it's not just junk.
yeah,
I'd delete it, or you put it in a folder.
yeah.
Family, church.
So you create
SEM.
folders off to the left-hand
Yeah.
side, in your inbox. Yeah, I do that too. That's good, Tom. That's right. Try and get stuff out of your inbox and delete stuff and transfer it over. In principle, at least anyway. I've got a lot of emails in there, but sometimes I keep them there just as a reference. If I want to go back and check an email that's come through, I can still search and find stuff. I tend to do that. But if it's important, I shift it over into a folder. Anything else? You've got stuff? Let me just give you a little bit about, there's a diagram that I copied out of Tim Allen's book. David Allen, Tim Allen. I knew I was going to say that, Tim Allen. He's Santa Claus, isn't he, in a lot of the movies. David Allen, he says this, so your stuff comes in, this is your buckets, and so I found this really helpful. This is generally what I try and do. Stuff comes in, what is it? Is it actionable? It's like, do I need to do anything with it? This email that's come in? No. It's off to the right. It's rubbish, get rid of it. Open your mail over the bin. That's what I generally do when it comes to paper stuff. And then it will maybe someday, so this might be emails or physical mail or whatever, someday, so he calls it a tickler file. Just you put it somewhere where it's a temp file, put it in there. Hold for review, or maybe something that's you think that's interesting, I might want that, so it's a reference, and then you might file that somewhere, put it somewhere on your computer or in an actual filing cabinet to do that. But I think that's really helpful. So there's that. And then the next thing, is it actionable? Yes. What's the next action you have to ask yourself? And I think this is a really good principle. I'm not sure if anyone's heard this before. Will it take 2 minutes or less? And I really try and work on this. So if someone sends me an email, says, Steve says, hey Andrew, can you teach Ministry Live? Sometimes it falls into the more than 2 minutes because I'm busy at the time. I've got to go check my diary and work out whether I've actually got time. But let's say I know all of that, there would be a yes. And so straight away, if it's going to take you less than 2 minutes, just reply, get in the habit of doing it straight away. So you don't have to write it down. There's nothing else required after that. If it's going to take you less than 2 minutes to respond to this email in particular, or your Facebook message, or whatever it is that you're using, then do it straight away. Don't procrastinate, because you're sure as eggs you will forget all about it, and there'll be holes. So who does anything like that? It's really going to be quick. It's a 2 minute rule. You bang it off. Yeah, Steve does. That's good. I think that. Yeah, thanks. So that's important. Then the other thing is it going to take more than 2 minutes? No, yes, it is going to take more than 2 minutes, so it's the no category here. Then you have to delegate it. Can I give this to somebody else? Or defer it. And if you're going to defer it, then it goes into one of two things. It either goes into your task list, or it goes into your calendar. Okay, so that's where the writing lists really comes in quite handy. So, I find that, that I use, I'm electronic company works better for me, but obviously people are all different. But I use Outlook on my computer, and so I think the calendar works really well there. What I love about that is it syncs with my phone, and so I've always got it. It's on a couple of different devices, but I've always got it with me. I've always got my phone with me. So I found electronics works really well, but some people might use paper. If it works for you, I don't really mind. But what you're going to do is make sure that the stuff that comes in, that you are actioning it by, if it's an actual appointment for something, you put it in your calendar. But if it's not an appointment and it doesn't go in the calendar, you've got to write task lists for different things. And I use my task list, my to-do list, fairly comprehensively. So I put dates when things are to be due, and I make sure they come up for review, and I'm actually ticking them off and getting them done. So we've already talked about writing lists, but does anybody use, what sort of things do you do when you write list. So it was paper. I think Mia, you said you just write things down.
I use like my notes on my laptop.
You use notes on.
Like the program notes.
Yeah, notes. Yep, that's good. Tom.
I do like daily, like paper list. So like I'll write out all the stuff I have to do for that day that I can just think of, and then I'll number it. And
Yeah.
What I'm going to do first.
Yeah.
And then and also so I can go through and just scribble it out when it's done. And that looks good.
Yeah.
Scribble it out.
Yeah, that's right. You can actually see.
Satisfying.
It's actually quite simple. I like going through my task list and saying done, done, and ticking it off as I go, so that it disappears, you never have to see it again. And but it's something that's quite encouraging. In fact, I also have things on repeat in my task list too. So it's some of my prayer stuff. People have said, "Can you pray for different things, Andrew?" I just put it in my task list, and it pops up either Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or every week, and so it's always a reminder it's coming there, so I don't forget those things. But using tasks in various ways like that, so you're organised, is really important. If you're trying to remember things and just keeping it in your head, it's not going to work, and it's probably not going to work for you here at ACM. That's why this is a great place to help develop you organisationally, administratively, because there's too much stuff coming across the table at you, where you've got ministry requirements at church, through your ministry life, being involved in different things, you've got assignments coming in, you've got different things you're responsible for. So you make sure you're using it well, but basically two things: a task list and a calendar. So you're putting those things down and you're not forgetting those things. And then it's a matter of reviewing on top of that. So, next slide. Review. Don't be a slave to the review process. Pick a time. So I generally find 3 times a day I'm looking at best. To be honest, it's not always like that, but this is what I try and do anyway. So I get in the office in the morning. And normally the first thing I would do in the morning is that I would check my emails, and I would see what's coming in, and then there's a 2-minute rule. If there's stuff that I can respond to straight away, I'll bang it out, get it done. If it's not, then I will add it to my task list, and I'll save the email somewhere by putting it in a folder, so I can come back to that and find it, and I'll just check my diary. And then at lunchtime, I'll go through that again, because there's more emails that have come in, and do that. Because I don't want to be responding to emails as soon as they come in. You're sitting at your desk and you're trying to work on things. Sometimes I'll even turn my email off, so it's not coming up and telling me I've got an email. I'll just turn it off because it's just a distraction, because it's just going to take my thoughts away from what I'm doing. So get rid of it and check it again at lunchtime, and go through, do the same thing again, respond 2 minutes or action it, and then get back to that later on. And then at the end of the day, do the same. And just making sure you're making time for those actions. Sometimes the action is a phone call. I've got to ring somebody. So put time aside, those 3 times a day to actually get onto that. And then put it aside and get on with your bigger things that you're trying to get on with the day, whether it be sermon preparation or assignment work, or getting out and seeing somebody. So you're not always having the mundane or the ongoing nature of the urgent stealing every part of your day. Okay, so it's about having time allocated, and it's about being organised and putting those things in place. Also on my desk, this tickler file thing. Does everybody know what I mean by that? It's like the tickler file. He talked about it like being a temp file. Anybody run a temp file for the different things that they have coming through? He says, what I find is this, is that something comes through and you say, I'm not sure what to do with this. Like, it doesn't require an immediate action. But it is kind of interesting. I may or may not need to come back to that. I don't know if I really want to file it, because it might end up filling up my filing cabinet if it's paper, or I could file it on my computer, but I'm probably never going to look at it again. But then again, I might. That sort of stuff. I get a fair bit of that sort of stuff. What do you guys do with those sorts of things? Because sometimes you'll throw it out and you think, gee, I wish I didn't throw that out. That would be perfect for something. What do you do with that sort of thing? Does anybody have anything in place?
Sort of, we'll just leave that stuff somewhere accessible, and at some point in the future, either I've lost interest enough to throw it out, or okay, no, that's important enough to actually do something about it. So sort of have that. If you leave it long enough, you eventually go, is this important enough to bother with my time?
Yep.
So rather than wasting time straight away.
So where do you put it?
With email, it might just go into a folder.
Yeah.
But not like a 10 folder or something, just any folder. For paper-based stuff, just goes into on the desk in a pile.
In a pile,
out of
yeah.
the way.
That's right. That's a good way of doing it, actually. Problem with putting it on the computer is it builds up and you never see it. It's not physical. But I think that I do the same. That's partly why I keep a bit of a log of past emails, is that I can search and go back for things that at the time I didn't think were really that important, but they may well be. And so I try and sort of just keep that list of 3 months. And so after that, if I haven't needed it, there's a good chance I never need it. Just delete everything. But on my desk I have a little tray, and it's quite interesting. So when something comes in, this big mail that's coming, or maybe something I've printed off, and I think, gee, I don't want to throw that out because I might even get a phone call about that, people wanting to follow it up, or and it'd be nice to be able to pull it out and actually talk to them about it, or it's just something that I think could be of value, but I'm not going to file. I just have this little tray on my desk and I put it in there, and it's kind of interesting because after a while the tray's not very big, it's only about that high, and when it fills up it starts to get really messy, and so I think I must empty that tray. So I go through it, and probably 90% of the stuff in that tray I throw in the bin, but the 10% of the stuff I think, no, I've kept that, and then that goes into a filing cabinet because I think that's going to be needing. Or I might keep it a little bit longer and then do the same process next time and throw it out. But having stuff like that, being organised, it's an interesting way, an important way of doing that. And then the last thing I've got in there is sync your calendar with your phone, whatever it is. You know, that's being organised. I probably don't have a whole lot more to say on that other than what we just said, but can't stress it enough. I wasn't overly organised when before I was in ministry. I had my own business. That helped me get organised, actually. But before that, I wasn't very organised. Just leave things lying around. But you're just going to come unstuck if you're doing that. So I want you to, the action probably from today is I'd like you to think about, has that stuff made any sense? And if you're not doing stuff like that, what changes can you make to put it in place? So your email comes in, or your Facebook message comes in. What other things do you guys, what's the other buckets have you got that where you collect information that I would be using? Well, that's pretty much it. So you get Facebook messages, and you got emails coming in, and obviously there'll be mail.
People will tell me stuff back in person.
Yeah,
And
people
expect
do
me to
stuff in
remember
person.
it.
What do you do with that? So,
I used to just like write it on my phone or something.
yeah, that's good. That's good. I write it up on my phone straight away. If that's where it's really helpful on my phone, I go to my task list on that, reminders on my phone, and put it in straight away. And then I go to my office, it's on my computer because I've synced it together. So I try not to. That's a really good way, a good thing to point out, because people will tell me stuff at church all the time. Sometimes I'll say, can you send me an email? So I don't have to worry about it. It's back on them again, because it's the other ones that are wanting it. You send me delegate, yes, back to them. You send me an email. Can you let me know? Or I put it straight in. It's really helpful. If you're not doing stuff like that, that's the beautiful phone. You don't always have your diary. That's good. Any other buckets? Okay, so that's mainly what it is. Is anybody not doing anything with that stuff? Just to be honest, like some of you guys said you're not very organised. Would any of you guys, you get emails and you don't know what to do with them, or you've never really done anything, you just sort of think, oh yeah, I'll get to that. Is that the reality for some of you people, that you just have never actioned it or done anything with it, or is everybody actioning stuff when they get it?
I tend to let it slide.
Yeah.
Especially paper-based stuff.
Yeah.
So every now and then, like I'll get a water bill or something, get another one, get a red one.
Yeah.
Open it, intend to pay it, maybe come back a couple of weeks later. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Why is the water not turning on?
Yeah. I tend to be pretty bad.
Yeah. So what can you do to clean that up?
Do it. Pay it.
So if in fact it's going to take less than 2 minutes to get the money in the bank,
Yeah.
you should pay it straight away.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got the money in the bank to do it, or you're running out the door, then you need to put it somewhere and put a reminder in your. What do you use? Computer, or do you use paper for reminders, or do you have no reminders?
I should probably get
Yeah, you should. So that's right, because you need to. You will drive people nuts in the
Yeah.
industry if you are not writing it. Because people are going to tell you stuff, and you're going to say, yeah, you aren't going to do it. And you won't do it, because you have too much stuff going on. You have to put it down somewhere. And are you a paper or electronic type of guy?
It depends.
Neither.
Yeah.
Is that right? No, it depends.
Yeah.
What do you do for your diary? Is that paper or is it electronic? Do you have a diary?
No.
You don't. So now it's time to get organised. This is right. You're the person I'm talking to today, Zach.
Yeah.
Probably a few other people, because that's exactly what you need to do. The stuff I'm talking about today is real. You will drive people insane, and you will lose credibility in ministry. People will get sick and tired of you. I'm not having a shot at you, Zach,
Oh.
but I'm just saying it is the reality that you do not get stuff done unless you write it down. You cannot remember. You will not do it. And so I'd say the best thing you can do, you've got yourself a HP computer there, you've got Outlook on it.
Yeah.
Right, so in there you've got tasks, you've got email, and you've got calendar. And so what you do is you say, that email, I'm going to put it straight, is it an appointment? Maybe put it straight. In fact, you can even just link it through Outlook and just do it for you if you do it.
Do you still use Outlook?
I still use Outlook, but Outlook doesn't work as well as what I'd hoped, so I use reminders and calendar, iCalendar and reminders, and I use Outlook for emails, but they still all work together.
Is there any chance you can show us, like, bring your emails up and show us actually this process? Because I know that might be really helpful for you to see what you do.
Yeah, okay. So it's not as, when I was using, I've just changed to Mac, so it's not as pretty as it used to be, but so there's the jetty down where I live, and
All that there are.
your image, you love that. So we've got Outlook here. Then down the left-hand side, you've got calendar and contacts and tasks. And so I'm doing it slightly different on my Mac, but we'll just pretend I'm not for now because it just gets too complicated. But you've got your email that's coming in. You've got different folders down the side. Here's what Tom was talking about, where you allocate different things there. And then, so an email comes in, and it says you want to do something, and you go and you put it straight into your calendar. Now, it won't show anything on this calendar because I'm using my calendar, but you can put it straight in here, or then you've got your task list, which won't show anything either, well, not much, because I'm using a different task list. But you put it straight into those things. It's probably, I'm not sure how helpful this is really going to be honest, but essentially what you want to do is just, if you're using Outlook, that's what you do. You just allocate it, and you can put a time around it, you can put a reminder around it, it just needs to come up. So you just need to make sure that you are getting a system in place. Anybody else not got anything that they, or guys at the back, said you weren't very organised. Do you write it down anywhere?
I write it down and then forget about it.
Yeah. So you've got to go somewhere where you're checking it and it's coming up.
I think, I've been through the mentoring session that we have with this. My pastor said I probably need to get a planner to plan out activities, weekly activities and stuff within the day.
Do you use a phone at all?
I use it, but it's not that effective.
What sort of phone have you got?
iPhone.
So you've got an iPhone. You don't use calendar in there, or
I do, but then I don't look very much. It reminds me the day just before, so.
do you use reminders at all in your phone?
No, used to.
Used to. So I just find it so effective because it's always there. And at the beginning of the day, I punch in my calendar and I see what's on. So I see what's on. So yesterday, and then I punch in my reminders, and that's today for my reminders, and I see what's on. And then when I'm done, I just tick it off. And that's, so every day it's always before me, and I'm just rattling through it, ticking it off, the next day something else will come up that I've allocated. If you're not doing that sort of thing, you're not writing it down, it's not going to work for you. The more complex your life gets, and believe me, it will get more complex, you have to have structures in place. I don't care what it is, paper or electronic, if you're not looking at those things, you're not going to achieve it. So you have to actually, I'd like you to go away today and think about a task list and a calendar and how you can use those things to make them work. Alright, so pretty much the last slide is on working on the ministry as well as in the ministry, and essentially I think that doesn't really matter so much today, we've had enough I think, but any questions or comments?
I think that 2-minute rule is pretty helpful. Because I tend to prioritise things by dates that I need to have them done by. That's why things sit on the shelf.
Yeah.
So that I think that the 2-minute rule is probably a good principle.
2-minute rule is a very good principle and something that I've really tried to put in place in my life, and it's worked very well because it means just small stuff goes. And you see, you really, I've said it before, you do annoy people if you don't get back to those things. I get really annoyed when people don't do what they've said they're going to do, and I've entrusted them with a responsibility, and they just don't get to it. You know, it always happens with all of us. You know, it's to a degree, it's going to happen. So don't be too annoyed. But when somebody repeatedly does that, guaranteed they are not organised people, and you need to do yourself a favour. They need to get it sorted out. And so 2-minute rule is really important. But then not only the 2-minute rule, but actioning things and putting it in your reminders is essential, or in your calendar is essential. So if you're not doing it, today is a very good day. It won't take you long at all. If you've already got the software in your computers or in your phone, where it's not hard to buy a book, but you do it and you look at it 3 times a day, okay? And you put half an hour aside, morning, noon, and before you go home, and say, am I working on this? You know, this needs to get done. And you'll transform, I think, your productivity, and you'll earn people's respect, because they'll say, I can trust this person. And I think just being a Christian, we owe it. You know, it's our reputation and the reputation of well, it's about integrity probably in a lot of cases. It's about integrity, and integrity comes back to being organised sometimes at that level. So we really do need to do it. I want you to think about that. First year ACM is a very good time to turn that around, and I'm sure Steve will be able to help you with that. If you're not doing it, you want some more help. Hopefully that's been helpful enough just to say it's not hard, but it's essential. Okay.
Great. Well, why don't you join me in saying thank you to Andrew for coming in today.